What's good, you guys? Today is redemption day. Last time I talked about this sneaker model, I was absolutely loving it, except for one little problem in the toe box that ultimately led me to sell them. I said then that I was going to try and get this other pair that I had my eye on and maybe even size up if I needed to. I wasn't able to do that, so I went true to size again, and I'm happy to say that this time that issue was not apparent, so these are all the way good to go. Now, this is a model that I'm already loving, but this specific colorway in collaboration with Kiko is just mwah, chef's kiss. There's so many good Easter eggs and details on this that you really need to see. So we're going to get into it right now because today we're talking about the Asics Gel Kayano UB9-S in the crystal pink and classic red colorway. Now, this colorway is actually said to be inspired by Mino ceramics, which is like an ancient Japanese technique for pottery, but there's so many different versions and colorways of doing that, and I wasn't really able to narrow down one specific reference that would make that apparent, but for me, I've just started calling these the banana splits. Starting on the toe box, you get this pale banana yellow toe cap that has this like crocodile skin texture to it, and then the fluid fit overlay panels that surround the toe box are in like a woven texture in this white material that almost looks like kind of like a woven basket. And on the medial side of the toe box, you get this silver textured hit, and that's in 3M. But my favorite Easter egg to the shoe is one that I didn't even notice at first until I really looked closely at some online images, is that mesh on the toe box that goes throughout the whole rest of the shoe is triple layered. You have like a cherry red at the very base layer, and then the intermediate area is a brown mesh, and then it covers with that white, kind of giving that like chocolate and strawberry vibe. The lateral side starts with these infused areas in this cloudy transparent white, and then the very next individual eye stay is actually in red this time, and it still has that basket weave pattern. I'm hoping that that color change makes it a little bit easier to see, and the overlays that surround the logo itself are in this super bright cherry red that really pops in hand. The logo itself is in gray and white and has this like stripe pattern that goes all the way through it, and at the very top of the eye stay you have these red lines over this brown panel, and you can see there that it even has some texturing on that little piece as well. Moving towards the heel, you have the Gel Kayano 20 branding, and then you have this red translucent TPU heel counter, and all the areas inside of that are in this like vertical striped pattern that almost has like a wood texture to it. And then right in the center of the heel you have the gel branding in this matted gray. On the medial side, that logo's bumped back a bunch this time, way more towards the heel, so it just exposes that really vibrant red just way more on the overlays of the shoe in this nubuck material, and towards the crest of the toe box you have some more of those infused overlays in that cloudy white. The first thing with the lacing system is the laces themselves. They come in that really thick squared off trail lace that was actually on the other model as well. The more I've looked into the Kikos, it seems like all of his collaborations on the 20 have that lace, which I think is super dope. And these come in a brown and white double striped pattern style, which I think is just like a chocolate vanilla swirl playing into that banana split idea that I just can't stop thinking about when I look at these. The tongue itself has that same triple layered mesh, and then that classic asymmetrical Kiko tag in like a pale pink, and then you have the red hits on those zigzag lines, and then the Asics logo is in that bright cherry red with the white outline. The back of the tongue and sock liner come in white and has that elevated Kiko touch to it with that texturing and this really satin feeling material. This is the same kind of pattern that I found on the Gel Kayano 14s. And then the insole is also in white, and you have that classic Kiko patch in red, the Asics logo in black, and those little dash lines in blue. Now this midsole really goes crazy because you have like a quad or even a 5-color stack. Starting at the top, it comes in like this off pink that isn't actually white in hand and matches some of the other pink accents to the shoe. Then these gel pods at the forefoot and the heel are in like a clear gummy bear color, and then in the middle you get that chocolate brown, and then you have that translucent red midfoot shank poking out, and that kind of to me just looks like strawberry syrup. And at the bottom where you start to see the outsole a little bit, that comes in this off dark mint color. The predominant color of the outsole is that darker pale mint on the traction pads, and towards the forefoot you get the Asics and gel branding, and then through that guidance line that travels through the middle you see the brown, and then that little bit of pale pink pokes out again in the middle, and that midfoot shank comes in a translucent glossy red. So looking at these up close, you can see exactly what I meant by like Easter eggs that you wouldn't expect, from that crocodile texture on the toe box that I never saw on online images, and then that weave basket pattern on some of those overlays by the forefoot, and then that triple layered mesh that goes across the whole shoe. You really need to see that in person because that I've never seen before, and it's a really dope detail. So maybe it's just me, but altogether I see the banana on the toe box, I see the bright red strawberry syrup right there and right there, and of course on the heel cage, and then you get the chocolate vanilla swirl on the laces, and not to mention that triple layer in the mesh, and then you get that off pink hit on the midsole. I mean, tell me you guys don't see what I'm seeing. And lastly, with the box, this one actually didn't come in that traditional Kiko style with the Argyle stripe across it. It came in this. And the thing that we really need to talk about is the fact that the guy who I bought these from broke the cardinal rule and did not double box. He taped every side of the box. So I basically had to ruin this to get the shoes out. So thank you for that, guy. Really appreciate that. Dude, what? Okay, so now we gotta talk sizing, because before on my last video I mentioned that issue with that medial overlay right there, and I felt like that was a design flaw that just was digging into my foot. These are the exact same size as the other ones, and I don't feel any of that. So I think it might just be a materials difference in general, because on my moss green pair, the mesh was a much more rugged, thick mesh. And then here, instead of having that mesh again, you had like a satin material that was a little bit more stiff. At this point, I've just come to expect that if it's a majority mesh shoe with that classic style, that's always gonna be better than something that's more stiff and constricted. But now that I have a pair that's not giving me that issue on the toe box, these are fantastic. I would definitely say go true to size. I have wide and flat feet, and that was fine. And as far as on foot, these are a really smooth ride, especially for wide footers. It feels very substantial at the foot base, so you don't feel like any part of your foot is falling off. And all that cushioning seems perfectly placed to support your foot on each side. All these factors together definitely make this something that could be good for an all-day wear. My only hesitation would be with certain materials from my last experience, so I guess it's just something to look into when you're deciding which colorway you want. But now that I have a pair in my possession that fits me correctly, these would probably tie as the most comfortable Asics shoes that I own, right up there with the Gel Venture 6 Shield. But this shoe has actually resurged out of the archive in a relatively short time frame, so if you're wondering which options you could even look at to get, there are some that I'll break down for you right now. So this shoe originally released in 2013, and it was on the 20th anniversary of the Kayano line, so it came out in this crazy pack alongside the original Kayano trainer, and it came in that really dope packaging. If I could find that pack in my size, that would be an instant cop. Some other recent colorway options that you would have to choose from is from this triple pack in collaboration with Kenzo. Nigo was appointed the artistic director of Kenzo in 2021 after Kenzo Takada's death in 2020, and in 2024 they released those 3 colorways using all of Kenzo's design language. Another recent collab would be the one with Bodega. It's a little bit more downplayed. It first came out in this primarily white colorway, and then there was a friends and family. I think that actually ended up getting a general release if I'm not mistaken, so you'd be able to pick up either one of those. Another set of 3 that you have to choose from is from South Korean brand Unaffected's collab. They did this white, black, and like a blood red option. These ones actually have a translucent panel towards the top of the toe box area, so you might want to look into that as far as material wise and see if that's going to work for you. But these are another 3 that you could choose from. Another option is the Cecily Bosson collab, and that was like with these little flower hits on it. There was like 3 different versions that all incorporated black and gray and white. It's not really my thing, but that is another choice that you have. But of course, my recommendation, if you've been following this channel, is going to be all the Kiko options. I think they're the clear outliers that are just blowing every other collab out of the water. You have way more options of them, and with all the subtle Easter egg details that he puts on every model he does with Asics, you can count on the fact that when you get them in hand, you're going to be pleasantly surprised. But overall, I'm loving these, and the QC on these was mint. I have 0 complaints about that, and all these intricate details just make this a really dope pair to have in hand, and I'm happy to add it to the collection. And as far as comfort goes, this is rapidly becoming one of my favorite shoes to throw on. But that's going to wrap up my review on the Asics Gel Kayano UB9-S. If you guys wouldn't mind liking, commenting, or subscribing, I always appreciate you for watching. And remember, as always, life's short, so buy the shoes.